Like I said, for you to use solar energy and enjoy it effectively, there are a lot of factors to be considered when running the installation. What are the factors to be considered when installing your solar energy? As a beginner, it is very important you know all these factors and put them into consideration whenever you want to run your installations. What are the factors? First, you should know that every solar system that is properly installed gives you reliable, makes your job reliable. It makes your clients or your customers to trust you more when you do it very well. First, it will also make you to have much customers and also keep giving you a job, because whenever you do the first one right, it will make the next person to recommend you. And the most important ways of getting a job again is through referrals. So when you are being referred because of the way you handle the first task that is given to you, how do I mean? When you do the job very well, the person will have no option but to recommend you to the next person that needs your activities or need your services. For instance, when a job is meant to be installed and you did the job perfectly well, you need to know that there are people that need the same services you rendered, and because of the way you did the first installations, people can actually trust you and recommend your services to others. That is to say, as an installer, you actually need to understand these basic factors I want to tell you to be considered whenever you are running your installations. I mean, you need to listen, bring out your pen and bring the things you need. This topic is very important. Bring out your pen and write out these factors as I'm about to show you now. Imagine when you want to start your installations and everything you are doing, all the components are there and all the materials needed for the installations are there. How do you do it to get your people engaged? How do you do it to make this system serve you very well? There are factors you need to consider at the first place before you do this. Do you actually understand what I'm saying? Yes, I want to tell you that these factors cannot be neglected, and bringing these factors will help you to keep your job effectively. The factors number one, you should know what you are about to install first. Understand? You should know the capacity of what you are installing. You should equally know where it is needed. You should know the size of the appliances you want it to power. Then, when you do that, you now consider this properly. Consider the positioning of your panel. Consider the positioning of your panel. How do I mean? Where do you normally have light, or where do you normally have enough sun? Because the maximum sun in an environment will help you to attract maximum power through the solar panel. So when you consider the positioning of your panel, the areas where there is constant sunlight, the sunrise and the sunset, these are the things you need to know if you want to run a perfect installation. When you do that, you also consider the distance of your panel to the batteries. This is very important. How do I mean? You actually know that whatever thing you do, that the electricity generated or the power generated by the panel should be conveyed to where your charge controller and the battery is. So when you know this distance, it will help you to determine the gauge of the cable, the gauge of the wire to be used when running the installation. So these are the factors to be considered. Know the areas where you have constant sun. Also know the distance to where you want to position your system. Equally, consider also how safe the solar panel is over there, thereby making sure that there is nothing covering it or there's nothing that will fall on top of it. Most of the times in Nigeria, we use our roof, for instance, because we know it is actually open to the sun. And once a building is raised, the top of the roof will actually have nothing to cover it. That's why we constantly position it on top of the roof. Then if you cannot use the roof, you can actually make a cabinet for it. How do I mean? You construct a portable place where you can mount your solar panel, and during these installations, as you are considering the areas, equally consider the environmental factor, where kids cannot be throwing something to the solar panel because it will actually, when they do that, it will cause harm to the panel. By cracking the panel, we bring diminutions of solar energy that will be generated. In the same way, when you are positioning your solar system like the inverter and other things, you should also know that it should be positioned in a well ventilated place where there's not much heat. The temperature of the environment must be from 25 degrees to 32, as the case may be. So when this is done, you can equally bring in ventilators, things that will make the environment cool, because they are all electronics, and these things need to be put in place for it to happen. So when you are running your installations, consider where the sun is maximum, then consider what is needed to be powered. These are the factors, because the size of your appliances or the load appliances determines the size of the system that will be installed. When you do this, you consider the gauge of the cable, that is the wire you want to use to run the installations, because we all know that electricity considered in a large areas also generates more. So when your gauge is very small and the distance is high, there is a tendency of the solar panel not generating enough energy. When you do this, I promise you, you are going to enjoy your system and will serve you 100%. Over time, people will begin to ask you to come and do the next one. Keep watching this video, because I know you are gaining value in what I am saying. I want to bring in more as we keep sharing values together. Thank you.